They deleted, oh, it says it's working.
So that kind of practice that you're having already,
Yeah.
of seeing people and saying things to validate them and comfort them, that's the empathy, and that's the most important part of a therapeutic
She did that
practice.
for me this weekend.
Did I really?
Yes, because in my brain, I'm keeping it calm, but on the inside, I'm like, oh my God, this is so frustrating. So when I talked to you about it, I was able to keep my own stance and not have someone tell me, well, no, you're supposed to do this, this, and this.
No.
Like,
And that is not what we do in counseling. We are not supposed to do anything or tell anyone that.
oh, I was told a
So
lot about stuff.
I had a client this past week, and she calls and she's like, I moved, and I just want to know if that was what I was supposed to do. So I start from the beginning, and I say, just so you know, we're going to address the questions that you have, because obviously she wanted to have some answers, but you never give away your power. You never say, should I do this or should I do that? And a therapist should not be giving that kind of response, because then you're taking your client's power away. So I said, we can ask what's in your highest interest. We can see if this is something that's beneficial, and we will assess based on previous patterns and actions and whatnot, and that's what we did with her. But I prefaced it with, you don't give me your power. And so you never take away a client's power. So when someone is shoulda, woulda, coulda in you, or you're shoulda into a client, not positive therapeutic behavior. So what happened?
How did it start?
Well, I just want to make the comment of the salad.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you said that you were eating.
I was eating a couple bites of the salad. Like, it started with a loss of appetite because I got to Publix. I was getting everything ready to drop the kids off at her house today. And I'm like, you know what? I worked out. I need to eat a salad instead of my Cuban sandwich.
Okay, so two things. So remember, human behavior and thinking and people were just a puzzle. So let me start with the quote that I have on the board. So this is from a book that says, if you see Buddha on the road, kill him. Okay, and the idea is, who's Buddha?
He was like a monk, wasn't he? So
Who believed in peace and
Yeah, but
Okay,
he
but
wanted
he represents enlightenment. He
Enlightenment.
represents an enlightened being.
Yeah.
Okay? And so, just like I just said now about the shoulda, woulda, coulda, or taking away the person's power. If you see the Buddha on the road, kill him. Why would you kill the Buddha?
I feel like that stops growth, like stop a person's growth.
Exactly. It stops the person's growth, because if you think that's the Buddha, guess what? You stop being the Buddha. You don't get your own enlightenment. Where's my Buddha?
Well, I know I've gotten a
Yeah.
lot of the tarot readings and all that stuff this weekend. I've been listening to them carefully, and one of them was like spot on, saying you're not going to take shit anymore. It's going to hurt you, but you're just going to grow from it. You're not going to sit in it like your old cycles. And I'm
Okay,
thinking,
perfect.
old cycles, I was previously divorced. I was upset I was divorced because I had children, and you know, the way I was told, when you have children, you're supposed to have a man, you can't be on your own, otherwise you're not a good parent.
Okay, and we're gonna talk about those stories. So in that book, if you see the Buddha on the road, kill him, the title is very intriguing, because you would think, first of all, it's a counter, it's the opposite to peace. But what it is if someone else is the Buddha, then you can't be the Buddha, because the idea is the Buddha already exists. And the reality is that the Buddha lives in each of us, just like Jesus or any other spiritual figure that you connect with. And all of these things that I have on the table represent some sort of spiritual being. So we don't take our client's power away, and we don't give our power away. And so even to the Buddha, to a teacher, to a guru, to a professor, to a therapist, we don't give it away and we don't take it away. And it's extremely important. So I love this quote in that book. God you can substitute for whatever you want, just happens to be what's in the book. God invented humans because he loves stories. Morning. Because that's all we are. You you close the door, please? That's all we are someone who's a story. So why do we talk about myth? Why do we use myth as a teaching?
They're stories. They're stories of gods. First of all, Zeus is the main character.
Where's my?
He's the god
I like that.
has, but he's like the whore god.
He's the whore god, yes. Okay, so they're stories of gods.
Yeah.
So
They're awesome though. I'm not
Oh my
gonna
God,
lie.
they're
I love
amazing.
them.
what does it mean? And notice how I have a lowercase g.
Gods.
So myth is simply something that we're using to teach. So myth equals a story. Stories of gods. What is the representation in our life of God?
Like power, strength,
Okay,
belief, period, because everyone has to have belief to some sort of God.
okay. And why is it lowercase g?
Because it's not an actual person. It's not, like, you can't put a name to it. It's,
Okay, James, when you watch American Gods, what do you learn about these characters?
Their actual power, their strength, their.
Okay, and what else?
And like the way they see the world, the way they actually feel like the world should be running, and their actual belief system.
Okay, but there's something about them. There's a reason you see it on the screen.
like a higher, fairly higher level than everyone.
Okay, that's your highest self, but what else? There's a reason that it's the whole premise of the show. And there's a reason that it's a lowercase g.
Because there's so many.
When we talk about duality.
Yeah, they're half
What
human,
does
half-
Zeus
Yeah.
and these characters in these shows, or any of these characters from mythology have?
They're half human, half.
Yes.
They're demigods.
They're
They're
yeah,
demigods
yeah.
for a reason,
Yeah.
because they're half human. And what does the human represent? If this is the God part,
The weaker
this is the
side.
demi part,
Yeah.
The weaker side.
the weaker side. So this is what we call duality. So who is a god or a demigod?
We're supposed to be.
Yeah.
All of us. The
What are you
human
pointing
race. The human race is a demigod. That's why the major story of Hercules. And one day I'm going to go through all of Hercules with you
I love the
guys.
story of Hercules.
And all of the labors, so you really, really, really understand. And that's really the way to understand astrology and to really understand the psyche of a human being. It's phenomenal. But for today, we're just going to break it down. So myth, and why we use story in a client session, is because, and it doesn't have to be a mythological story from Greek mythology or African mythology, it can be any story, which we'll get to, is basically the story or the breakdown of two parts. There has to be a highest self or a God quality. So all of you have a godlike quality. What is your godlike quality? That one's easy.
My kids.
You're super mom.
Yeah.
She's a superhuman mom.
Yeah.
That's your godlike quality. And then what's your human quality? Just pick one of many.
Yes. Dress.
Okay, that you're easily stressed.
Yeah.
Or you're a control freak. Okay?
It's a work in progress.
Each and every single one of us has these higher states and the lower states. We all have the godlike quality and we all have the human quality. So take out a sheet of paper, just a scrap paper, no one's going to see this. You can, well, Nicole can give you a piece of paper.
It's okay, this notebook's a mess anyway.
Uh-oh.
Well,
Okay, so now you have two, one for each side, one for your human side, one for your God side. And write down a godlike quality that you have. So, something that represents your highest self, something that represents a power that you have. Have you seen those shirts, so-and-so is my superpower, what's yours? You've never seen those shirts? I see them all over the place.
Okay.
something that you have a strength in yourself, something that you believe positively about yourself. What's your superpower? What is your God aspect? Okay, but put it into a thing that describes you, not your kids. Your kids are them. What is it about you? Put it in a phrase about yourself. I am fill in the blank. Brag. This is where you get to brag. And we all have to brag about something. I normally don't like when we use another person, like I'm a good caretaker, or I'm a good mother, because it takes away from yourself. So try to focus it on you.
And that was part of it.
Okay, of course.
And that was the major.
Because if your superpower, and James last week or Tuesday was talking about that, if your superpower is to take care of the other, then now your power lies outside of yourself. And we don't want that. So whatever your superpower is that you're writing on your paper, make it about yourself, not about another person. So Carmen, what's your superpower? What are you? What are you really good at? What's your strength?
At my job.
At your job? What do you do at your job?
I'm an assistant manager.
Okay, so what is it that you do really well? Because your job is not your identity. What is it that you do? Do you listen well? Do you type well? Are you good, at solving people's problems? What is it that you do as the assistant manager that makes you so good? I want you to put it in terms of I. I am good at, and fill in the blank, or I am this. Samantha.
I'm a good listener.
Okay, great. That's a great quality for counseling. Stacy?
I don't know how to put this in terms, but more or less, I am, well, I'll just explain it. It's something.
Okay.
If someone is going, well, I am not judgmental, that's what it is.
Okay, perfect. So I'm non-judgmental.
Yeah.
Okay, Druid?
You're good at video games. I mean, I saw you earlier.
But quality, so how would he take the video game and put that into, is it creativity?
Tech savvy.
Is it, okay?
Yeah,
Tech savvy.
Are you good at details?
Hand-eye coordination.
Hand-eye coordination, excellent.
Usually help
James, what's yours?
With compassion.
What is he just
Compassion?
said? He said he
Okay.
helps people with what?
how to play them
How
or
to play them?
if they.
Okay, but now put it to yourself. So helping others makes you what?
Of course.
A good teacher?
I guess you can put it.
Okay, so you're a good teacher?
I'm good at listening, and I don't want to call it giving advice because I know in psychology.
Well, don't worry about your field.
But in giving my opinion.
You're good at giving advice.
Stating my opinion.
You already proved that this
Expressing your
Expressing my
Okay.
opinion.
So now,
Don't
I
downplay
want you to
yourself
put
there.
your human power, the weaker side of you. So this is something that you're judging about yourself.
I put a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay, what'd you put?
Well, I put stressed, anxious, and overwhelmed. So maybe overwhelmed sums everything up.
Okay, are you easily overwhelmed?
Yes.
Okay, so you're easily overwhelmed, so that's your human side. Nicole?
I accept when I shouldn't.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's my new philosophy since last Thursday now. I will not accept what I shouldn't, period. And that can be at
Okay.
any cost.
I don't particularly like the word shouldn't, because you're putting a judgment on there, and there has to be a judgment, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I'd rather you look at your values to see what it is that you shouldn't, so you have to have your values very clear in order for that to come true.
Yeah.
But it's very good. Samantha?
I put I'm easily stressed, but I'm trying to think of something else.
Okay, yeah, stress is,
So big.
it's vague. Are you fearful? Are you anxious? Are you a
Sensitive.
people pleaser? Are you sensitive? You're a perfectionist, I can see that.
Yes.
Okay. So perfectionism is definitely a human quality.
It's fun
James?
being.
Samantha just graduated high
It's
school.
the duality,
Congratulations. 2018 last
strength,
year.
weakness.
Wait, this is
So
interesting.
you just went to
I
grad.
did not, I was not paying attention.
Oh, what, you were asking me a question or you were answering?
No, I was literally.
Oh, right, so what's your human quality? If compassion is your God quality, what's your human, your weaker quality, something you judge about yourself?
Oh,
I thought you were saying your
procrastination.
procrastination, okay, so put that down. Carmen, what'd you put for your God quality?
I do too much for the wrong people.
Oh, your human quality, you do too much for the wrong people, excellent, that's a great one. Stacy,
Yeah, too nice.
too nice,
Yeah.
okay.
Too much of that option.
What was that?
I tend to get lazy sometimes.
Lazy, okay, those are all human qualities. And we normally have a longer list of our human weaker state than we do our God list. That's just the reality of it. We tend to judge ourselves harsher than we give ourselves credit. So something that you will find in every single story is that the character in the story has to have both a human quality and a godlike quality. So every single person is a demigod. That is why in these myths, they show up as demigods. So Hercules, which is like the main one in Greek mythology, he is born of Zeus, and he's thrown to earth to figure out who he is. And that's the story of every human being. What do we say to God?
Fuck you.
And we say to God, fuck you!
Yeah, we do. I
Exactly.
learned that.
We come from wholeness,
Yeah, good
so
example.
God, wholeness, universe, spirit, energy, whatever word you want. We're sitting there in perfection. We say, fuck you, God, I want to experience this earth.
Yeah.
This is a symbol for Venus, which represents the body, the material world. And we say, I want a body that's imperfect, and now I'm going to experience my godlike self, my perfected self, in a human form with imperfections. That's why every single person feels inadequate. And every single one of your clients feels inadequate. We were talking about a colleague that we have yesterday who is ridiculously pretentious. He is a stuck-up jerk. He grows on you after a while. I've known him for 15 years, and now I'm kind of like, whatever. But part of that is that he is so insecure that he comes off as a pretentious asshole. So Alfred Adler, one of the therapists that you've probably read about in your personalities of theory of personality book or your theory of personality class, if you've taken that, talks about inferiority complex. Have you guys heard of this?
Yeah.
And superiority complex. And this guy that we work with has superiority complex, which really is what? Inferiority complex.
The opposite side of it.
Yes, it's the opposite side of the coin, and that's what this is. So when someone is demonstrating their superpower to you, what are they really showing you?
Their weak side.
Their weakness. And if someone is so much about their weakness, what are they actually telling you?
Their strong side.
I want you to see my superpower. And human beings will constantly flip-flop from side to side in a story to show you and tell you what they want you to hear, even though they're not saying it. Okay? So that's why we use myth. So I'm constantly telling you guys different myths. Every single story that exists, you guys know my adage, no new stories exist. There are no new stories. Every single story that has ever been told has already been told. So your story, her story, all told. Our job is to decipher what the client is saying behind the story. Okay, so we started on Tuesday with a little bit of this. And so we were talking about Disney stories. What did we say that every single fairy tale begins with?
Once upon a time.
And what's the once upon a time?
You have to meet a
Tower.
handsome prince.
Beautiful.
Okay, but what's the beginning issue, so to speak?
Oh, the mom and
The
dad.
mom or
There's no mom and dad, or the mom's gone. You can't have both, or you don't have any.
Okay, so you must kill off the parents in some respect. We see this in these stories. And why do we have to kill off the parents? Usually it's mom that's dead and then dad's off traveling because back in the day, like in Cinderella, the dad had to make the living. So why do we have to kill off the parents?
So the child can grow?
Absolutely, so the child can grow. The reality is that if you are coddled, if you are still, and Shayla's not here, but we were talking about Shayla and how her mother doesn't let her leave the nest. Okay, so you have children, you have to let them leave. My daughter wanted to graduate early, she wanted to move to Orlando, she is thriving. It was very hard for me. I was going through cancer, a divorce, and all 3 of my kids left to college. Of course I wanted to keep them home, but I couldn't because I know this concept, okay? So you have to eradicate the mother and the father. Why? What do the mother and the father in a story represent? Ideally, it doesn't mean that that's what your client's story is about, but what does it represent, mom and dad, in an ideal situation? What was that?
The anchors in the problem.
The what?
The anchors.
The anchors in the problem? Okay, that's a good way to put it. I'll address that in a second. But in an ideal situation, what do mom and dad represent?
They're providers.
Providers, or where are my needs?
Thank you for
Yeah.
saying the word.
Yeah.
Where is the damn word?
Caregiver?
Unconditional love.
Unconditional love that doesn't exist, we know that, but safety and security. Your parents should represent safety and security, protection, love, esteem, all that Maslow hierarchy of needs. Raise your hand if your parents have provided all of that unconditionally. Bullshit. You've been sitting in my class enough to know that that's a lie. So you see in our client over here a little bit of what? It starts with the D word.
Delusion.
Delusion. She's absolutely going to suffer from delusion. And a client like that comes in and tells you that their parents are perfect,
No, not
delusion.
No.
But unconditionally loving you, bullshit.
I just
So
think I have
that's the
provided-
worst kind of client, in the sense that you've got to pop that snow globe, or shatter that
Sorry,
snow globe,
sis.
as I call it.
Right.
Come on, Stacey.
Okay.
Somebody raised my hand for providing not the other two.
She
So
said
it doesn't mean it's not your
That's
truth. It doesn't mean it's not your truth, but my job as a therapist now is very clear that I have to shatter that snow globe. So Samantha said anchored in the problem, and that's the reality of it. Every single client that you have, if you take them back to childhood, unless it's Stacy, is going to tell you something about their parents. Why did the parents have to fuck it up? Nicole's favorite.
The bad buckets.
Your parents need to have bad buckets. Your parents need to have bad qualities. Why?
No one's perfect.
No one's perfect. Why else?
Human error is natural.
Okay, absolutely. So we have a human side, and you, by virtue of being human, have a negative side, so you got that from your parents.
It teaches you
I
that
know.
they're not actual godlike, they're human just like you, and they're not perfect.
They're supposed to be
Like as a
perceived
kid,
as
you see your parents as God, so like a godlike person, so when you see them that they're not perfect, it shows you that they're perfectionists.
Yes, so all children from 0 to 7 put their parents on pedestals. All of you, even if you were abused. Psychologically, subconsciously, the child cannot accept that the parent isn't perfect. And they learn that that's the way they need to be loved. However,
Well, because.
so James is right to a certain degree. When your client comes to you let's say, how old are you?
29.
A 29-year-old client and is talking about real dad and fake dad and mom that this and I had to, take care of stuff and she sent me to throw things out of the window for my father and all of that stuff, what is the client saying with their story?
I hear no love in there.
Okay, well that's because it's yours. But if I tell you my mother only loved me if I looked a certain or had a certain weight,
She had a.
what am I telling you as a client when I come and tell you these horrors on a scale of 1 to 10, because different people, bless you, have different horrors. That's the cutest sneeze I've ever heard. What is your client telling you? Think of the fairy tale. What's the first thing we learn about a fairy tale?
It's their story.
There is no mom and dad.
There's no mom and dad. So the first thing that has to happen with your client,
There can't be a mom or.
there can't be a mom and dad either physically, so they were adopted or abandoned, or their parents fucked up in some way. Every single story starts the same. That is why every single Disney story that's taken from myth, Brothers Grimm or whatnot, starts that way. Because if your parents treated you perfect, then what is wrong with this?
That wouldn't exist.
It wouldn't exist. It would only be this. You would be a perfect God. You would have never said to God, fuck you, I'm going to experience the earth. And you wouldn't have a body. And I've said this to you before, for those of you who have children. If you have a child, and I'm the doctor, and I give you this ball of energy, and say, here, Nicole, here's your little boy, what would you say to me?
Fuck, I'm a parent.
Holy shit.
Yes, but listen to what I said. I'm giving you a ball of energy.
It's like, what are you going to do with it? That's what I think, a ball of energy. What are you going to do?
What does a ball of energy look like? Here's a ball of energy.
I don't even know. I
My
see
son.
electrocutions and
But in my hand,
everything.
this is energy. If you go like this,
Yeah.
you can manipulate energy. I'm giving you this ball of energy. What am I giving you?
A ball of energy.
What's missing if you just had a baby? And I give
Oh,
you
the
this.
body.
The body.
The flesh. The
The
Venus.
flesh, the body. That means that at that moment, your child, as a result of being yours, is imperfect. Because the body represents the human side. This is where your clients are going to beat themselves up. Yes?
Yeah, pay attention to that. That's going to be intense. That 10 o'clock activity.
Okay, thank you. That's my human side. We are not going.
That's the shoe nuts.
That's
If you want to go as your military,
Wait,
you can all go if you want. But
We're having
No,
a
I'm
D-Day.
not-
it's
I'm
a
straight.
presentation.
I'm straight right where I'm at.
Monument.
Fuck you. After what he said, that he's gonna kick me out because of my mouth. He will say.
Or the shoes.
And that here?
We're being recorded. My boss
Oh,
might
no.
watch this. I love you, but we're not going because this is really good.
Right. This is
Because
recorded.
my boss,
Well,
my boss, and she told me yesterday her mom watches these. She wants to join psychology, so her mom's on visiting her, so she might join us one day. Who knows? But if that's the case, I love you. You're not here today, but we're not going to that. This is so much
We
more
have to
fun.
email.
Although D-Day is a story, and we can break down, you see, we can break that down and talk about it and make it the activities.
D-Day. Normandy.
So if
Yeah.
the doctor hands you over a ball of energy, that would be spirit, without the body, you would say to the doctor, where the hell is my kid? You're not gonna take home and bundle a ball of energy.
You can't change the diaper.
You want the body, right? You can't change the diaper because that's a human function. So that's shit. And the human function is the shit part of us. That's why it's called the God or shit complex when I talk about it. Shit complex, the person thinks they're God, so they minimize themselves and, oh, I'm so ugly, I'm so fat, I'm so this. Or I'm the greatest, really what they're saying is that they're shit.
What happens when they have both? Cause like I have a perfect example.
It's confusing, I don't know why I'm saying it today.
My ex-boyfriend hit me up the other day, and he asked me. He was like, "So how did it go?" Because I got late. Finally, so then I was like, "It was amazing. It was great." Oh,
Give me that